After finishing up some errands and attending class in Hateno Village, I had finally collected enough rice to rebuild Lurelin Village, so I wasted no time in heading back, minus some light exploration, of course. Link handed over the rice to Bolson, who immediately got to work. But Link's job wasn't done yet. He needed to help with the foundation before construction could finish. First he put a tree into the fisherman's house. Bolson finished it up, and Armies was grateful. Then Link had to drag out all the garbage from the inn. There was so much to remove that I had to take a piece back in to remove the heavier pieces from the bottom. Bolson finished it up, and Jessica was happy to have a job again. Link put in another tree. Bolson finished it up, and Cloyne can run his chest game again. The restaurant had some boxes in the way and needed another tree. And hey, it's the family I met earlier. They've got a home again. The final house had a box on top for some reason. One more tree. And Rosal had a home once more, and the entire town was rebuilt. Everybody celebrated! Being the savior, Link now had free access to everything in town. I played the chest game, got some seafood paella, and ran into a mushroom lady who was a bit homesick. She wanted curry. I would need Goron spice for that, so I couldn't do it yet. And on the way out of town, I ran into Mina one last time, who has already heard that Lurelin had been rebuilt. Word travels fast. I hope she'll finally be able to enjoy her vacation from treasure hunting. But Link's adventure continues, and I take to the sky to fly off in a direction. One of the side effects of aimlessly wandering is landing right back to where I just was. In this case, smack dab in between Kakariko and Hateno once more. Under a nearby bridge, I found a Korok and treated it with the utmost respect. And off to the side, stumbled upon a river cave. Within, I easily smashed the stone talus on the third try. But dying meant that my boat disappeared. With no clear way to continue down the river, I had to ascend out. A nearby shrine had a cool puzzle where I once again confirmed, yeah, this game rocks. Another Addison puzzle on the first go, before stumbling upon the wetland stable and my best co-worker, Pen. He tells of the latest rumor, how Zelda borrowed the stable's farming tools but never returned them, which is very much unlike her. Ami tells Link of a monster fortress in the nearby forest. Gotta handle that too. Inside the stable, I notice that the billboard no longer has a note on it, and Lawden tells Link what they're for. Eventually, the stable association wants all of the stables to have art to display to the guests. Only the individual stable owners can't get away from their posts to find good references. Luckily, Link's got a camera. Lawden here could use a reference photo for the ring ruins over at Kakariko. But before that, though, the girdless in me takes hold and I go interview Isra, one of the stable hands who last saw Zelda and the tools. She was last seen taking them to Floret Sandbar, but with all the debris falling from the sky after the upheaval, he'll need a boat driver to navigate, so it's time for a boat adventure! Penn meets up with him once they reached the floret, only for the trio to get scolded by Magda. Remember Magda, the flower lady from the first game? Well, now Zelda's commissioned her to take care of the place, and has been using the missing farming tools for some time. And still needs them. In fact, the debris messed up the sanctuary. And with a vocal slip, Isra gets roped into helping rebuild the sanctuary too. What a silly misunderstanding, but Penn and Link are no closer to finding Zelda. Anyway, soar along! I traveled back to the stable and entered the nearby shrine. It was a doozy. It started out cool. Who doesn't want to drive through lava? But then the next puzzle, I understood the assignment. Get the thing to go up with the ball. But I connected the tire, not the gear. Then the tire wasn't hitting anything. Finally, I saw the plank and realized I probably needed it. But not like that. This one felt closer. At least it moved a little. Not this way. Finally, I've almost got it. Once I connect it right. And off it goes. Thank goodness this puzzle is over now. There's another part. My first draft goes nowhere fast. My second raft crumbled apart when I took the wrong piece off. Rebuilding gets me not much further. I finally tried a different tactic, but it's not quite there. And the second time, it worked. Until it didn't. And third time's the charm. After exiting, I saw a swarm of baddies and decided I had nothing better to do. As it turns out, that was the fortress Ami was talking about earlier. I help a nearby Korok traveler get to its buddy, only to find myself right next to Kakariko again, and get the opportunity to grab a photo. As it turns out, the stable owners are fantastic artists. His painting is 1-to-1 with the photo I took. After clearing out the stable, I head off once more and find a well billowing with smoke. Before I investigated the fire, this guy, Gladys, is shocked to learn I found a booble gem. Not quite sure what they're used for, but I've got plenty at this point. Inside the well, I find a guy. Dilly's been stuck down here for some time. The ladder broke as he tried to climb out. Link fixed it. Afterwards, I run into Addison and solve his puzzle both on the first try and with only 2 pieces. And before long, I saw another star fragment and rushed towards it. I ran and I ran and I ran, but dawn was fast approaching. I got to the forest it landed in, just in time for it to disappear. But the forest was right next to those sick people from earlier. But it was pouring rain, the cooking pot was turned off. I'll get to it later. Instead, I reread the recipe and moved on. I stumbled upon the sand seal lady again. Another chance for a decent payday. Back at the stable, I now have the know-how and the materials and the cooking pot to prepare that Zelda dish. A fairly simple recipe, truth be told, but just a whiff of it is enough to resuscitate the sick chefs at the campsite. The 4 of them gobble it up and are fully recovered with a warning to never replace meat with monster parts. Penn arrived shortly after. Link filled him in. Soar long! I took to the skies with a tower near Kakariko and explored some of the nearby skylands. I had some fun gachapon times, and got another old map before moving on. See, while I was in the area, I remembered that one Korok I couldn't figure out earlier, so now is as good a time as any. Sweet, sweet revengeance. Take that, acorn pot. While in town, again, I met up with Leslie. Her grandma touched the gloom and has been incredibly sick ever since. Leslie's heard of a way to cure the gloom illness by combining certain ingredients, and the poor woman is only well enough to eat porridge. I now had the stuff to make porridge and was pretty sure the Sundelians would do the trick. I whipped up the dish real quick, gave it to Leslie, and Nana was better in no time. Plus, now that she was better, Leslie's sister Clary marked down all the clothes in the family store. Before I left, I did some exploring and found Calip's journal. Calip being the guy who won't let Link touch the floating ring ruin. He's got a certain infatuation with elite Zonai researcher Tauro in a way that might not be completely heterosexual, while also being incredibly full of himself. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of Calip later, but for now, I spot Zora's domain in the distance, or rather the nearby tower. Regardless, I have a new goal, which I would get to soon. First, there's a shrine puzzle. The helpful steward construct, through a somewhat cryptic poem, lets Link know that at dawn, the white spot on the nearby wall needed to be covered by the shadow of this turning mechanism. I line it up just right, stick some boards in the slots to extend the shadow coverage. It didn't work. Was just a little too late. But it was raining, I couldn't wait by the fire in these conditions, so I found a little nook and built one myself. All my boards respawned. I tried my best, worked as fast as I could. It didn't work. Luckily, it was no longer raining, so the next attempt was straight away. I swear that should have worked. It didn't. One more try, instead of letting the shadow do its thing, I physically held up a board with Ultra Hand, and that finally did the trick, and led to a pretty comical scene. Whee! It was only Oraru's blessing. And with that, I started towards my next goal, to see what was going on with the Zora people, and that will be the end of my diary log. Let me know your favorite meal to prepare. It takes a minute, but my favorite is probably my pan-fried chicken tacos. While you're here, let me know if you liked the video by leaving a rating, or you could subscribe to get notified of everything else I put out on the channel. To keep up with my thoughts elsewhere, you can follow me on my social medias where I'm at Mario8th everywhere. Links to all of them in the description. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time, but first, let's see a death montage. If you can consider it a montage.